Well, good morning. I think our assignment for today was tell you a little bit about us. And so I was the annoying kid in second grade who had his hand up all the time, asked questions, why? Maybe some of you relate to that. I was also the intensely competitive person. So whether it meant basketball or ping pong or chess, I had to win. And so that's kind of my personality, and so you get a feel for it. I have up here on the slide, I want you to notice the title because I'm going to end with that, because I think we have today in this room a bunch of people who are going to make a huge difference in this world, and I think you are at the right place at the right time, because biotechnology is finally coming into its full capability right now. And the next 20 years are going to transform our world and be able to answer a lot of the concerns that the world has today. So I'll start with that. A little bit more about me. I went to a small private college. I got a scientific degree. Met my wife in college. She said, "What is your major?" I said, I'm a science major. She said, "Why on earth would you do that? Why don't you be a business major? Then you'll be able to get a job." And so it's worked out okay. She did stick with me for the last 27 years or so. Went to University of Nebraska, got my PhD at the University of Nebraska in biochemistry, working in DNA replication. Actually got a job right out of graduate school with a small company that was almost immediately purchased by Boehringer Ingelheim. So Boehringer is based in Ingelheim, Germany. It's a family-owned company. It's one of the top 20 therapeutics companies in the world. We were actually in animal health in the group that I was with. Large, very structured company, intense personal development program, which was an excellent experience for me and set me up for the future. I spent 12 years with Boehringer in a number of different capacities. That was everything from operations to research and development activity. And in mid-2007 was approached by a group at the University of Iowa who had developed a new model of cystic fibrosis and believed that what they had done was unique enough that it could serve as the foundation of a company. So I actually spent a year developing a business plan and founding the company Exemplar Genetics. We founded it in 2008, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So you go from large, structured, very safe, good benefits to crazy, idiotic, dumb idea. If I knew today what I knew then, what I knew today, I'm not sure I would have done it, but it was great. We learned to survive. We blazed a trail. And it was a great experience. 2 years ago, we were acquired by a company called Intrexon, DNA.com if you're interested, all things genetic engineering, and I'll tell you a little bit about the projects. We're still a wholly owned subsidiary and operate pretty independently at this point. So biomedical research is what we do. We're based in Iowa and South Dakota, spin out of the University of Iowa. Our focus is the development of preclinical efficacy models. And so models that truly represent human disease and can be used to test drugs before you get to the human clinic. So if you know anything about the drug development process, clinical failure rates are extremely high. So a fully loaded cost can be about $1 billion a drug. Sometimes it's pushing $2 billion now. Direct costs about half of that. Largely due to failures that happen. So 80% failure rate by the time that you're done with the preclinical phase. So in the drug development process, from an investment standpoint, of those dollars, about 30% are spent preclinically, 70% in the clinic. And so you're making a go, no-go decision based on data that's wrong 80 to 90% of the time. And so that's really the issue that we try to solve. The traditional model for testing new therapeutics and understanding the disease in general has been the mouse model since the mid to late 80s. We developed genetically engineered mini pigs. And so they're small, gray, hairless animals. We knock in, knock out genes that are associated with disease, and then we provide those to the research industry. We have 15 or 16 different models on the ground. We've got just as many in the lab right now being developed. We have a number of contracts with therapeutics companies to utilize those to understand the disease better and then develop some sort of therapeutic to address that disease complex. So we started out as a models company. We've quickly got into the services business where we do a lot of testing and understanding of the disease, and shortly hope to get into the clinical development or the therapeutic development area as well. We were acquired, so that's our game at Exemplar. We were acquired by this company called Intrexon. Intrexon actually plays in all different markets, and so whether it's health or energy or environment or food or in consumer products, it's all genetic engineering activities. So I'll tell you a little bit about that, and it's on all platforms. And so whether it be human cells or pigs or plants, doing all sorts of things to try to address very common problems. Specific to some of the activities of Intrexon, they've got a CAR-T program where they're essentially genetically engineering your own immune cells to attack cancer. So a big project there. They have apples that don't turn brown. And so they've knocked out a gene associated with the browning of a number of different food products, if you will. It's actually a huge problem. Walmart wants to sell sliced apples because that's what people will buy. But when you slice the apple, it turns brown and they can't sell it. And so then you coat it with all these preservatives and crazy stuff, and then it's not real healthy and it doesn't taste real good. So by knocking out just a couple of genes in the apple's genome, you can actually have an apple that you slice and can lay on the table and never turns brown. And this is also going to be applied to bananas and avocados and all sorts of other things as well. This will actually be in the market within the next couple of years. The crazy thing about this is if you make apple crisp with these apples, the apples stay white. So it looks a little funny at first. But trust me, they taste really good, and they're really good. They also have a company, a wholly owned sub like us, that does insects. And so they actually have genetically engineered the invasive African species that carries the Zika virus. And so what you do is you release the males who don't bite. What they do is they outbreed the other males in the area, all the offspring die, and you wipe out this invasive African mosquito that's actually the one that brings all of the disease into our area. It's called Oxitec. And then they also have a division that's developing green fuels. And so all of these things are through genetic engineering. And so it's an exciting organization to be a part of. Our little play is fun as well. The second assignment was, okay, just like my wife said, why don't you do something that you can get a job instead of something that's just interesting to you? What kind of jobs are available in an industry like ours or Intrexon in general? And most obvious is obviously be a scientist, work in research, right? And so that's for a lot of people. And so we have scientists that spend their day in the lab, and they're working on genetic engineering of all sorts of different organisms, figuring out how to do that all the time. We have scientists who are on the quality side, and so we do a lot of testing before we ever move anything forward. And so we need really strong scientists to make sure that those crazy people in the research lab actually know what they did, right? And so that's kind of their process. The FDA very, very closely regulates us. And so in order to sit in front of 6 or 8 regulators like I was 2 weeks ago and answer their questions associated with the product that you want to bring to market, you better understand that product pretty well. So we need scientists who work on the regulatory side to explain why, what is the appropriate level of regulation. So the company believes there is an appropriate level of regulation. Good, well-meaning scientists have done really stupid things in the past. And so we need to make sure there's an appropriate check and balance there. But over-regulation is also a problem, and it causes good products not to be able to be brought to market. And so there needs to be a balance there, and we need scientists who do that. Believe it or not, we need sales and marketing. This is probably the most difficult job that I try to hire, is a technical salesperson. Someone who can walk into MIT, explain what we have and how it would work for their program, and have 4 or 5 PhD scientists take them seriously. Because it doesn't happen very easily. And so technical sales, somebody who can communicate well, who understands the science, but also has somewhat of a business sense, is a real challenge for us. Project management, I've got at least a dozen projects going right now. We need someone who can essentially organize and document and control that. Obviously administrative functions, and then advisory roles. So we've got public engagement. So GMOs are scary. We're bringing Frankenswine to the marketplace, people. And so public engagement is a huge deal, and we need to be able to communicate with the public so that the science can move forward. And so I'll finish with just what I started with, and that is biotechnology can make for a better world. And you guys are the difference makers who can make it happen. And so understand yourself, understand the role that you might play. Maybe you want to enable the next generation, and that's fantastic. Maybe you want to be a part of industry. I'd be happy to talk to you about what that looks like as we move forward in the day. So thank you very much for your attention.